Hey, what's up, guys? It's a Sports Blitz here, and we're back with our NFL 2022 to 2023 record predictions. This is the first prediction we're doing for the season, starting with the Denver Broncos. So basically, how this is going to work is we do a deep dive into their roster, kind of look at their strengths, their weaknesses, and basically do their record prediction. We're going to go in order by divisions. We're doing the AFC West first. Then I will decide the next division to do afterwards. But yeah, let's go ahead and jump on into the Denver Broncos. So looking at their roster, obviously they've got Russell Wilson. So they're set at quarterback. As long as Russ doesn't get hurt, they have a superstar quarterback. Running backs look really good. I really like Javonte Williams. I thought he was really good coming out of the draft. Had a really good rookie year. Him and Melvin Gordon. Excuse me. I apologize. Him and Melvin Gordon had a really, really good. I guess they were a really good running back duo last year. So that running game will still be there. As far as wide receivers go, they've got Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, Tim Patrick, and I'm going to throw KJ Hamler in there too. I think he's really good too. I think looking at these receivers, there's a lot of really, really solid receivers, but there's no like real star in there that's going to if you really need a huge play made, with the game on the line, you don't really see that type of player here. So, which I don't think that's necessarily a terrible thing. I mean, I think even with Russ, they'll be able to make awesome plays. I'm curious to see what happens with the Jerry Jeudy situation. I know he got arrested, but it doesn't really sound like that's really that serious of a situation. So I don't think that's going to affect him really this season. So I'm not worried about the receivers in any way. I was pointing out that there wasn't like any like superstar right there. As far as tight end goes, they have Albert. I'm not even going to try to pronounce that last name. Then they did draft Greg Dulcich. I do think Dulcich will eventually become the number one tight end, and I think he's going to be good. I remember actually watching him at the combine and thinking he was a freaking stud. So I'm excited to see what he does with Denver. Then they do have a fullback, Andrew Beck. Don't really know too much about him, to be honest. As far as offensive line goes, I think it's a pretty solid offensive line. I'm not super confident in Billy Turner specifically, but I mean, really everywhere else, like, it's a pretty solid offensive line. So I think they've got a pretty dang good offense. I don't think they really have any excuses to really score less than 25 points a game. So then going down to the defense, starting on the D-line, they've got DJ Jones, Mike Purcell, and Draymond Jones. I'm not a big fan of the D-line. I'm just going to be honest here. Not a big fan of the D-line. Draymond Jones is solid. I think he's a little bit underrated, to be honest, but he's still not like a necessarily great D end. Does that make sense? So yeah, I'm not really a huge fan of that. As far as linebackers go, you got Bradley Chubb, which Bradley Chubb, he's kind of like an edge rusher. He sometimes he'll actually play with his hand in the dirt, kind of more like a D end, but he does rush off the edge, in like an outside linebacker type of role as well. So there's that. Then they've also got Alex Singleton, Josie Jewell, and Randy Gregory. I thought the Randy Gregory signing was pretty solid, actually. I don't remember how much they paid him, so that part will be really important to find out. But I think their linebackers are pretty solid. I do like Josie Jewell. I think he's pretty underrated. Then drafting Nick Bonito and then already having Malik Reed. I mean, that's a pretty good set of linebackers. I like it. But then when it comes to the secondary, that's when things really get scary. So, Ronald Darby, he's been pretty good with Denver. Okay, I'm not. Wait, hold on. I mean, I don't know the exact number of snaps, but I feel like I remember Ronald Darby actually getting more snaps last year than Patrick Surtain. And Patrick Surtain was really good too. So, I mean, Ronald Darby, pretty dang good corner. I think I think he's going to be a starter all season there. Then they've also got Kareem Jackson, who, yeah, he's getting a little bit up there in age, but he can still play. I'm a big fan of Kareem Jackson still. Justin Simmons, I want to say he's like 27, 28. One of the best safeties in the league. I think he's kind of like borderline top 5 safeties for me. Then, I mean, Patrick Surtain had a really good rookie year. I think he's going to have an even better year this year. So, really good secondary. I mean, even like as far as depth goes, I mean, they've got Jamar Johnson, who I was high on coming out of the draft. They've got K'Wan Williams. I don't know a ton about him, but I feel like I remember hearing that he was a pretty solid player. So, I mean, yeah, they're stacked as far as secondary goes. The front 7 may have a few issues just because of how weak the D line is. But if the linebackers can pick up some of that slack, I think they'll be fine. So, roster wise, like not even looking at the schedule itself, roster wise, I would probably call this like a 10 to 12 win roster. I mean, and I mean, really, especially like if you strengthen up that D line a little bit, this is a roster that can compete for a Super Bowl. But the D line is what really worries me here. This is their biggest issue here. So, let's go ahead and get on over to the record predictor. And guys, I'm just gonna be completely honest here. So, the AFC West is insanely hard for me to predict. I actually thought about this quite a bit before, recording this, because, man, the AFC West is stacked. Like, it is not a crazy thing to say that all 4 teams in that division could make the playoffs. In fact, I don't see any of those 4 teams winning less than 8 games. So, yeah, let's go ahead and jump on into it. So starting week 1, we have the Broncos at the Seahawks. Russ is able to get his revenge on a Monday night game. I am taking the Broncos all the way. Week 2, we have the Texans at the Broncos. I thought the Texans had a really good draft. Pretty solid free agency as well. I like Davis Mills. But I just don't think they're on the level of the Broncos right now. I'm taking Broncos here. 3, this should be an interesting game, to be honest. I mean, I'm curious to see how Trey Lance does. Trey Lance is someone that, like, he's got an insanely strong arm, and he's fast, he's mobile, but I don't know that he really has much of that football IQ that you want in a quarterback. His release is pretty slow as well. So, I mean, if the Broncos D-line can, get after the 49ers O-line a little bit more, get after Trey Lance a little bit more, Broncos win this 100%. I think I'm going to go the Broncos here for the win. But if the 49ers get an early lead by running the ball, which they do really, really well, I wouldn't be surprised at all if they win. So then we have Broncos at the Raiders. Now, before I continue with any of the divisional games, I don't know their like long record or whatever of like, how have the Broncos done against the divisional rivals the last 6 years? Have they done better, you know, at the Raiders or at the Chargers or at the Chiefs or at home against these teams? So before I make these predictions, I just want to get that out of the way. So don't roast me too much if you think that, I'm wrong about that, okay? Because again, these are predictions. Doesn't mean they're going to be all correct. So I am going to go with the Raiders here. I'm going to be honest. I genuinely think the Broncos will split with all three divisional rivals. So because of that, I'm going to have each team win at home. So let me go through and fill these in. Oh, whoops. Okay, I think that was all of the divisional games, I believe. Yeah, so it'll give them a 3-3 divisional record. Okay, I think that's pretty dang good. In a stacked division like that, if I were the Broncos, I'd take that. But then we've got the Colts at Broncos. This is going to be an interesting game as well. I'm curious to see how Matt Ryan does with the Colts. He has, who in my mind is a top 3 running back in the NFL, and Jonathan Taylor. They've got a very, very good defense. I'm not a big fan of their receiving core, though. And especially against a tough Broncos secondary, I'm not sure how that matchup is going to go. So that's a really tough one for me to predict. Again, I don't know how Matt Ryan is going to do. I think because of the Colts' lack of receivers, I think I'm going to go Broncos here. 7 right here. The Jets at Broncos. The Jets got a lot better this offseason. Okay, they had what honestly might be the best draft. It was a top 3 draft in my mind. I absolutely loved it. But I don't think they're quite ready to compete, in the AFC quite yet. I think they'll need probably another offseason. I think the Broncos are a lot farther along, so I'm going to go Broncos here. And then really I'm not a fan of the Jags at all. I still don't think they're going to win more than like 2 or 3 games. So I'm going to go Broncos again. Then we have the Broncos at Titans. I don't know at this point if it'll still be Ryan Tannehill starting or if it'll be Malik Willis. I'm curious to see how Treylon Burks does. I think he's very similar to A.J. Brown. So I don't know that they're really missing all that much in A.J. Brown. I really like Treylon Burks. But, I mean, I don't really think they have many receivers besides that. It's kind of just Derrick Henry or, Treylon Burks. But this is a situation, though, that the Titans have a very good run blocking offensive line. And where the Broncos do choose to go with a 3-4 defense, and those 3 guys on the front are really not that great in my eyes anyways, I think I'm going to go with the Titans here. So then jumping down to week 12, we have the Broncos at the Carolina Panthers. this is kind of their cross conference matchup. This one is tough because on paper the Panthers' offensive line looks really promising, but we don't know exactly what it'll be quite yet, and we don't know if at this point if it's still going to be Sam Darnold or if it's going to be Matt Corral, or if it is Matt Corral, how is he going to be doing as a rookie? You know, is the Panthers defense going to be as good as it was last year? Is Christian McCaffrey going to be healthy? I don't know. These are all really tough things to answer. I think because of all those insurities, I think I'm going to go with the Broncos, but that's kind of a sneaky one. I could see the Panthers pulling that out. Week 13, I'm actually going to go with the Ravens here. The Ravens are a very, very good run team, and I know that they don't really have any receivers, but I feel like this is honestly a team that early on in this game, they're going to be running the ball a lot, dominating time of possession with the clock, and it's going to overwhelm the Broncos. Like I said, the run defense is going to be the Broncos' biggest biggest enemy. So I think the Ravens pull it off, and really Baltimore's receivers won't have to do much. So week 15, we have the Cardinals at Broncos. I'm going to go Broncos here. I know everybody's kind of been talking about the Cardinals and like they have so many incredible receivers and their offense is stacked. I mean, last year, honestly, on paper, I thought last year's roster was a lot better than this year's. I thought they lost a lot of good defensive pieces. And really, even though last year's offense, the offensive roster was stacked, they really lost all momentum, around mid-season or so. So, I don't know. I don't really see the Cardinals doing all that much this year. I really don't. So I'm going with the Broncos for that one. Week 16, I'm sorry. I still see the Rams as a top 3 team in the NFL. They are really good. I think, I don't know. I don't know that I really see a way that the Broncos can beat the Rams. That's a tough one for me. So yeah, overall, this gives the Broncos an 11-6 record. That I would say definitely locks them up a playoff spot. So, I mean, I don't know if that's going to be a divisional win because again, that division is stacked, but it'll bare minimum give them a wild card at least, if not winning the division. Because again, all 4 teams in that division, like I would not be surprised if they win the division or make the playoffs. Like, I mean, the Raiders are stacked, the Chargers are stacked, the Chiefs are stacked and have Patrick Mahomes. I mean, yeah, I don't know. It's a tough one. It is definitely a tough one. But really, I see all 4 of those divisional teams getting 1 win and 1 loss against each other. So going 3-3. So yeah, Broncos fans, let me know what you thought of this prediction in the comments section below. Let me know if maybe there's games in here that I had you guys winning that you don't think you'll win, or vice versa. Again, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Later.